So I want to welcome everybody.
Chcel by som všetkých privítať.
You'll begin to notice a difference in the presentations that we're doing now.
A možno vidíte ten rozdiel v tých prezentáciách, ktoré teraz robíme.
And I appreciate that it's not easy.
A ja si vážim, že to nie je jednoduché.
Lockdown has ended.
Lockdown sa skončil.
And like many people in the world, the movement has begun to gather together.
A tak ako predtým, hnutie sa začína znova spájať, stretávať.
So we're beginning to have in-person
Takže my
meetings.
začíname mať osobné stretnutia.
And for me personally, it's become a challenge to use Zoom and to do in-person meetings at the same
Pre
time.
mňa osobne je to výzva robiť aj Zoom, aj mať osobné stretnutie v rovnakom čase.
But I still see the necessity of getting our material translated and for people across the world coming together.
Ale stále vidím nevyhnutné, aby ten náš materiál bol preložený na celom svete.
I believe that we have sorted out many of the issues or many of the technical problems when I present on my own.
Verím, že sme vyriešili veľa technických problémov a keď prezentujem sám.
But the difficulty arises when we're in a public setting as we are today.
Ale tie komplikácie vznikajú, keď sme tiež vo verejnom nastavení, ako sme teraz.
And I want the people who are with me to participate in the study.
A chcem, aby sa zúčastňovali na tomto štúdiu aj ľudia, ktorí sú tu so mnou.
So I've made enough apologies about this, so no more apologies.
Takže už som sa dosť ospravedlňoval, tak už sa nebudem ospravedlňovať.
This is something that we're all going to have to get used to.
Toto je niečo, na čo si musíme všetci zvyknúť.
So I hope you don't mind.
Takže dúfam, že vám to nevadí.
And as I did recently, I'll probably have to repeat the questions or the comments of my live audience here.
A ako som už povedal, musím povedať tie komenty tých účastníkov tu.
So I want to begin with some questions. We'll see how far we get.
Otázkou, uvidíme, ako ďaleko sa dostaneme. Alebo nejakými otázkami začnem.
Before we do that, I just want to make everybody aware
Predtým, ako to spravíme, chcem, aby si všetci boli vedomí,
that I'm here in the United States.
že som teraz v Spojených štátoch.
We have planned 3 live camp
A my
meetings
sme naplánovali 3 živé camp meetingy. Naživo.
this weekend, next weekend, and at the end of October.
Tento víkend, na budúci víkend a na konci októbra.
And while I'm here, I'll be doing a couple of private presentations, which will be live streamed as normal, but they won't be in-person meetings.
A kým som tu, urobíme nejaké prezentácie a budú tiež akože zdieľané, ale nebudú robené ako
And we here have got a full day.
Takže máme tu plný celý deň.
We've already had a baptism.
A už sme mali krst.
2 of our members were baptized this morning.
Dvaja naši členovia boli pokrstení
And
dnes
later in
ráno.
the day, we have communion.
A neskôr budeme mať večeru Pánovu.
I thought you might all be interested in knowing a little bit about how our day is.
Takže som si myslel, že by vás zaujímalo, ako vyzeral náš deň.
So let's begin with some questions.
Takže začneme nejakými otázkami.
Question 1.
Otázka 1.
Does the movement allow people to attend lectures and exams on the Sabbath?
Dovoluje hnutie, aby ľudia mali skúšky alebo nejaké no nejaké skúšky v sobotu?
So this is a question or a related question that comes up often.
Toto je otázka, ktorá často prichádza.
And often people say, does the movement now allow?
A často ľudia sa pýtajú, dovoluje hnutie teraz, aby boli tie skúšky.
So this is pertinent.
Takže toto je relevantné
To our little congregation here today,
Našej malej kongregácii tu teraz,
because we've just had a baptismal service,
pretože sme mali práve krst.
an acceptance of those vows,
A prijatie týchto sľubov.
and for the rest of us who were baptized, a reminder of what our personal commitment
A
was.
pre ostatných je to pripomenutie, aké je to naše osobné odovzdanie sa.
In many countries across the world, as you all know,
V mnohých krajinách na svete, ako dobre viete,
colleges, schools have classes and examinations on the Sabbath.
rôzne školy majú skúšky a rôzne veci v sobotu. Rôzne skúšky.
And this issue is not new. It's not a new
A
question.
tento problém nie je nový, toto nie je nová otázka.
It's not a new issue for Adventists. We've been dealing with this for around 200 years now.
Nie je to nič nové pre adventistov. My sme s tým jednali už viac ako 200 rokov.
So I want to ask someone here in our group,
Takže chcel by som sa spýtať tu niekoho v našej skupine,
why do you think this question is being asked?
prečo si myslíte, že táto otázka bola položená?
This is an Adventist.
Toto je adventista,
At least I believe they were an Adventist before they joined the movement.
alebo si myslím, alebo verím, že bol adventista predtým, ako prišiel do hnutia.
And they're either baptized
A či už sú pokrstení,
or they're not baptized because they haven't had access to an elder and
alebo
they
neboli
haven't gone through that
pokrstení,
process.
pretože
But
nemali
they are familiar with our beliefs.
prístup k tomu staršiemu, ale oni súhlasia s s tou našou vierou.
So if I can ask you, David,
Takže ak by som sa ťa mohol spýtať, David,
why do you think they're asking this question?
prečo si myslíš, že sa pýta túto otázku? Pýtajú.
So the trick to this is, don't translate this, please. The trick to this is, when I ask you a question, you have to wait till I give you the go ahead because it's getting translated and you can't hear that bit. Okay, sorry about that. Just some housekeeping at our end. Go ahead.
Do you
Alright.
believe they're facing this issue, either through college or school or some institution where they're required to take exams and go to lectures and carry on just the normal business of school? And so they're wondering, is there a loophole?
So David's response is
Takže Davidova odpoveď,
that they attend a school or a college or a university,
že oni sa prihlásia do školy alebo na univerzitu
and they require you to attend a lecture or an exam,
a oni od vás vyžadujú, aby ste sa zúčastnili tej lekcie alebo skúšky, alebo prednášky alebo
and
skúšky.
David thinks that the person is looking for a loophole.
a David si myslí, že osoba sa pozerá
So
alebo
a
hľadá medzeru.
loophole
Takže medzera
is a justification to follow the school's requirements.
je ospravedlením alebo odôvodnením dodržiavať požiadavky školy.
So I want to ask someone else.
Opýtam sa niekoho ďalšieho.
Susan,
Susan,
why is the question being asked?
prečo bola položená táto otázka?
Say because more of us are at the commencement of the student.
So Susan has said,
Takže Susan povedala,
because people are wanting to pursue a career And I assume that means more people are in education now.
Pretože ľudia chcú robiť kariéru a preto si myslím, že viac ľudí je vo vzdelávaní.
So for me,
Takže pre mňa,
I think both of our members here have missed the point of my question.
myslím, že obaja tí členovia nezachytili pointu tej mojej otázky.
Their answers are correct,
Ich odpovede boli správne,
but this issue is not new.
ale tento problém nie je nový.
The world has pressurized us to follow their rules for decades.
Svet urobil na nás tlak, aby sme nasledovali jeho pravidlá po 10 ročia.
Kathy.
I believe
Katie?
the reason the question is being asked now is because they're looking at the movement, they're seeing changes in things, in the traditional conservative Adventism behavior that we've been programmed through all these years. And now, the truth is being opened up to us. There's been lots of changes, the pants.
I'm going to stop here. We'll try to keep our answers short. That's fine. So Kathy said
Takže Katy hovorí,
that the reason the question is being asked
že dôvod, prečo bola položená táto otázka,
is because the movement appears to be changing.
je pretože hnutie vyzerá, že sa mení.
She said a few more things than that.
Povedala ešte pár vecí okrem toho,
So I'm just going to ask her to summarize.
ale chcem len sa ju poprosiť, aby to zhrnula.
Just an example, women do not have to wear dresses all the time. They can wear pants. So does that now mean we can change something else?
Because we've made so many changes in the movement,
Pretože sme urobili toľko veľa zmien v hnutí,
she didn't say this, but I'm going to add to this,
ona toto nepovedala, ale ja toto pridám k tomu,
that some of those changes are not scripturally based,
že niektoré tieto zmeny nie sú založené na písme.
She thinks
A ona si myslí,
that this person and perhaps others
že táto osoba a možno ďalší
are thinking if one thing has changed, maybe other things have
si
changed.
myslia, že ak sa jedna vec zmenila, možno ďalšie veci sa zmenili.
So maybe our perspective, our view of Sabbath keeping has changed. I think that's the point she's making.
Takže možno naša perspektíva dodržiavania soboty sa zmenila. Myslím, že to je pointa, ktorú ona robí.
Gloria.
Gloria?
Because the Sunday law is not a Sabbath issue anymore. They don't see Sabbath as sacred, a day to keep it holy.
So Gloria's response was,
Odpoveď Glorii bola,
because we no longer have the Sunday law as the test,
pretože my už nemáme nedeľný zákon ako skúšku,
maybe this person's view, maybe our view,
možno pohľad tejto osoby, alebo možno náš pohľad
of Sabbath keeping has changed.
na dodržiavanie soboty sa zmenil.
And maybe it's not as sacred as we once thought.
A možno to nie je také sveté, alebo ako sme si mysleli.
So I think as a group, we've got to the point of why we think this person's asking this question.
Takže myslím, že ako skupina sme prišli k tej pointe, že prečo sa ten, kto sa pýta, položil túto otázku.
We're changing many things.
Zmenili sme veľa vecí.
There's no Sunday law test anymore.
Už nie je nedeľný zákon, skúška nedeľného zákona.
And because we are becoming more liberal,
A pretože my sa stávame viac liberálnymi,
maybe we need to relax our standards on Sabbath keeping.
možno by sme mali nejako uvoľniť tie naše štandardy ohľadne soboty.
And if I could add,
Ak by som mohol pridať,
maybe God understands our difficulties.
možno Boh rozumie naše zložitosti alebo naše
This is
problémy.
not the same God we used to worship. It's a new God.
Toto nie je rovnaký Boh, ktorého sme zvykli uctievať, toto je nový Boh,
A new image,
nový obraz,
a God that interacts with us
Boh, ktorý s nami
differently and
jedná
has
inak
different expectations of
a
us.
má iné očakávanie od nás.
So we've made a judgment on this person,
Takže sme urobili súd o
which may
tejto
or may
osobe,
not be accurate.
čo môže byť alebo nemusí byť presné.
But I think it's important because I've come across this question numerous times.
Ale myslím, že je to dôležité, pretože som k tejto otázke prišiel mnohokrát.
And when I've asked people, the issues that we've brought up are the ones that they see as relevant.
A keď som sa ľudí pýtal, tak tie veci, ktoré sme tu priniesli, oni vidia ako relevantné.
Okay, so the question at the beginning says, does the movement allow?
Takže otázka na začiatku hovorí, dovoluje toto hnutie?
So I always want to address this point.
Vždy chcem adresovať túto pointu.
Isabel, whatever the issue is, does the movement allow just that bit?
Izabel, akýkoľvek problém je, dovoluje toto hnutie? Len tento kúsok.
In my opinion, the movement
So Isabel said
Takže Izabel povedala,
that the movement has no mandate, no authority to allow members to do something or not do something.
že hnutie nemá mandát, aby dovolila ľuďom, aby robili niečo, alebo zakázala im, aby nerobili niečo.
Is that a fair representation? She said yes.
To férová reprezentácia? Povedala, že áno.
Isabel, does that mean we never discipline people?
Izabel, znamená to, že my nikdy nedisciplinujeme ľudí?
She said no.
Ona hovorí nie.
So that must mean there are certain rules that
Takže to musí
people are
znamenať,
free to make for themselves and certain rules that they're not allowed to make for themselves.
že sú tam určité pravidlá, kedy ľudia môžu robiť niečo alebo nemôžu robiť niečo.
Isabel.
to my point, we have been given guidelines, we have studied, so I want to choose according to that guidelines.
So we've been given guidelines
Takže boli nám dané tie vodiace línie
and individually we must follow what God has instructed us to do.
a individuálne musíme následovať to, čo nás Boh inštruoval, aby sme robili.
This issue about the movement,
Tento problém ohľadne hnutia
its powers, its authority,
a jeho sile alebo autorite
is something that each of us needs to understand and grapple with.
je niečo, čo každý musí to pochopiť.
Llewellyn,
Suelen
it says the movement,
hovorí, že hnutie,
who or what is the movement?
kto alebo čo je hnutie.
Can you identify it for us?
Mohlo by si to pre nás identifikovať?
Well, I think the movement is all of us as we receive the guidance of God.
So she said the movement is all of us.
Takže ona hovorí, že hnutie sme všetci z nás. Tu všetci z nás.
Is that it? Okay, so if the movement is all of us, that means all of us need to vote on whether this person can attend lectures on the Sabbath.
Ak je hnutie ak znamená hnutie všetkých z nás, to znamená, že všetci musia voliť, či tento človek môže ísť na tú skúšku v sobotu.
If we use that
Ak by
definition,
sme použili túto definíciu.
I don't think we all need to vote. I think the Holy Spirit works through each of us as individuals. We have principles that we've studied and we have best practices that we study, and but that each of us has the Holy Spirit to guide us.
so she said, she
Ona povedala-
reiterated her earlier point that the movement is all of us,
Nejako prerobila tú pointu, ten bod, ktorý povedala predtým, že hnutie sú všetci z nás
and that God guides us.
a Boh nás vedie.
Does anybody else have an opinion of what the movement is?
Máte ešte nejakú myšlienku alebo názor, že čo znamená to hnutie, alebo čo je to hnutie?
So no, one person.
Jeden človek?
Just add to, I agree with Sue Ellen. I would just add that it's us, but there is organization.
So Kathy agrees with Sue Ellen,
Takže Katy súhlasí so Sue
and
Ellen
then she put a caveat saying that there is organization.
a ona k tomu dodáva, že je aj organizácia.
Kathy?
The other premise when people say movement is, I find they really,
Tell me what you think, not what people think.
well, I think when people ask me that question, they're really pointing to leadership.
So you tell me what you think movement is.
What I understand.
Tell me what,
Okay, I understand, we have vows and messages and good advice.
that's the movement.
To guide us as a movement, but the people are the movement.
So we have three people agreeing that the movement is the people that are the is the
Takže
movement.
máme tu troch ľudí, ktorí súhlasia, že ľudia sú to hnutie
With organization.
s organizáciou.
With the organization comes leadership.
Okay, so they're adding some context of leadership now.
A teraz sa pridávajú nejaký kontext vedenia.
So I think everybody here's been a bit coy
Takže
or silent.
myslím, že všetci tu
Cautious.
sú trochu tichí alebo zvedaví,
Because people ask me all the time,
pretože ľudia sa ma vždy pýtajú,
what is the movement position on this subject?
aká je pozícia hnutia na túto tému.
And I could say, you're part of the movement, you work it out.
A ja môžem povedať, ty si súčasťou toho hnutia, ty to vyrieš.
According to the definition that we've just received.
Podľa definície, ktorú sme práve prijali.
The movement is the members.
Hnutie sú tí členovia,
Then the members work out what's right and what's wrong, and they don't need to ask.
potom tí členovia majú vypracovať, vyriešiť, čo je správne a čo nie a nemusia sa pýtať. Alebo nie?
Kathy?
Katy?
You brought up discipline. You asked Isabella about discipline. So if discipline is part of the movement, who disciplines?
So I mentioned earlier about discipline.
Takže ja som hovoril predtým o disciplíne. Alebo o nejakej náprave.
So I think there's a growing awareness that the movement not only is membership, but it's also organization and leadership.
Myslím, že povedomie o tom, že je to hnutie, je organizácia a je vedenie.
So does anybody else want to make a comment?
Ešte by chcel niekto urobiť komentár?
Claudio, go ahead.
There's different types of way of organize churches or companies, whatever. Representative of, for for example, 10 people.
Try and keep your answers short.
So the representative is, we have to, we cannot, all of us do that. We have to send one person every 10 to represent ourselves. It's democracy.
So Claudio has mentioned a democracy,
Takže Claudio spomenul demokraciu
and connected with that is representation.
a s tým je spojená reprezentácia.
I'm going to disagree a bit because the last time I checked, this movement was not a democracy.
Ja budem s ním trochu nesúhlasiť, pretože naposledy, keď sme to pozreli, tak toto hnutie nie je
It's
demokracia.
bordering on a dictatorship, I think.
Myslím, že je to založené na diktátorstve, myslím.
Okay, when this person said, will the movement allow, what did they mean?
Takže keď toto hnutie hovorí, že či to dovoluje, čo to
Did
znamená?
they mean their continental leader?
Alebo čo tým mysleli? Mysleli tým kontinentálny líder?
Did they mean that in this room of 20 people, we should have a vote and give the person permission?
Alebo znamená to, že týchto 20 ľudí, čo je v tejto miestnosti, že budú voliť a dajú to povolenie?
Or do they mean they want to know
Ale
Elder
mysleli,
Tess's opinion on this issue?
alebo mysleli tým názor staršej Tess na túto tému, na tento problém?
Does anybody have any thoughts?
Máte niekto nejaké myšlienky?
George?
George?
The question, the way it was asked, makes it seem like the person is wondering if the belief sets, the standards of the movements, the baptismal vows, or the organized practices allow for this thing that they're asking.
So George has said, the,
Takže George
the
povedal,
questioner is asking,
že ten, kto sa pýta túto otázku,
have our practices, our beliefs,
má tie praktiky alebo tie
did you say that they may have changed?
vieru.
You didn't quite say that, did you?
Let's say that.
How did you say it?
They put the movements in the context of being the organized efforts, practices, beliefs, standards, and does it allow for, in this case, taking testimony on the side?
So he said the movement has some organization, has some beliefs, has some rules.
Organizácia má nejakú vieru a nejaké pravidlá.
And do they allow this person to
A dovolujú oni
do whatever they're asking?
tomuto človeku, aby urobil čokoľvek sa pýta? Alebo čokoľvek žiada?
Okay, so I'm going to ask a simple question. This is a yes or a no now.
Takže spýtam sa jednoduchú otázku. Áno alebo nie?
Question is,
Otázka znie,
if a person sits or goes to a lecture on the Sabbath, are they breaking the Sabbath?
ak ten človek ide na tú skúšku v sobotu, porušuje sobotu?
Yes or no?
Áno alebo nie?
Sue Ellen?
Sue Ellen?
Okay, so Sue Ellen says it's not breaking the Sabbath to go to a lecture.
Sue Ellen hovorí, že to neporušuje sobotu ísť na tú lekciu.
Susan?
Susan.
Just yes or no?
Áno alebo nie?
Susan says yes, breaking the Sabbath.
Susan hovorí
George?
áno. George?
Yes.
Áno.
Yes.
Áno.
Yes.
Áno.
Yes.
Áno.
Yes.
Áno.
At the back. Don't know.
Neviem.
No.
Nie.
No.
Nie.
Yes.
Áno.
Yes.
Áno.
So there's a yes, but there's some mitigating circumstances.
Takže je to áno, ale sú tam nejaké určité okolnosti?
Yes.
Áno.
Say depends.
It depends.
v závislosti.
So the school says
Takže škola
lectures
hovorí,
or leave.
skúška alebo odísť.
Don't leave. Let God do something.
Okay. So David said
David hovorí,
if the school
ak
puts you under pressure,
škola na vás
trust
vyvíja
in God.
tlak, verte v Boha.
Kathy?
Katy?
Yes and a no, I just.
A yes and a no.
Áno aj nie.
That falls under mitigating circumstances, or it's a difficult one because it's actually one I've struggled with personally. Not actually taking a test or a lecture, but activities.
So this issue of Sabbath keeping
Tento problém dodržiavania soboty
is something that affects all of us.
je niečo, čo má dopad na všetkých z nás.
And most of the people here says it's breaking Sabbath
A väčšina ľudí
go to
hovorí,
a-
že je to porušovanie
class.
soboty,
at a college or a school.
ísť do školy, či už je to nejaká stredná škola alebo univerzita.
There's a recognition that Sabbath keeping, that people have different views on what they can and cannot do on the Sabbath.
A ľudia majú rôzne pohľady na to, čo môžu alebo nemôžu robiť v sobotu.
There was a minority of people here
Bola tu väčšina ľudí tu,
that say
ktorí povedali,
if your school forces you to attend class or will fail you,
ak vás škola núti, aby ste boli účastní na tej hodine alebo vás vyhodia,
that it's okay to succumb to that pressure.
tak je v poriadku vlastne podstúpiť alebo ísť na tú skúšku.
And I'm
pod tým
assuming
tlakom.
that this person or the people in this group would not normally want to go to a class on Sabbath, but they're being forced to do
A ja
it.
predpokladám, že tí ľudia tu v tejto triede by zvyčajne alebo normálne by neišli na tú skúšku do tej školy, ale sú pod tlakom, aby to urobili. Alebo sú nútení. Susan?
You had your hand up.
I was going to respond to David because I've been put in that situation.
Part of the rules is we don't respond to one another because they won't be able to follow along with us. So you have to try to stick to your own point of the question.
It's the same, leaving it to God from my own experience. I failed.
What was the failure?
I attended I chose not to attend the class on the Sabbath and failed the module.
Was that good or bad? The result.
Glad that I failed.
You made the right decision, or I
I
mean,
think I made the right decision, but I was expecting that if I'm doing it for God, I'll pass, but I failed.
okay. So Susan has said
Takže Susan povedala,
in the past
že v minulosti
she was forced in this situation,
ona bola nútená do tejto situácie
and she chose to trust God.
a ona si vybrala, že bude veriť Bohu.
And I think she said she assumed that God would make it all good.
A myslím, že ona navrhuje, že Boh z toho spraví celé všetko dobré.
But I'm going to say God didn't, and she failed the class, but she still thinks it was the right decision.
A ja poviem, že
Oh, you passed.
on to neurobil a si myslím, že ona zlyhala v tej škole a myslím si, že to bolo správne
So she did
rozhodnutie.
pass the course.
Pardon, ona prešla tým kurzom alebo v tej škole.
Okay, so you can see that this issue is not that straightforward.
Takže môžete vidieť, že tento problém nie je taký jasný.
One person who said it's okay to do this, could they put their hand up?
Niekto, kto povedal, že je to v poriadku toto urobiť. Môžete zdvihnúť ruku?
Okay, so my friend, I forgot your name, sorry. Sam.
Prepáč, zabudol som tvoje
So
meno.
Samuel
Sam.
said it's okay to go to class.
Takže Sam hovorí, že je v poriadku ísť do školy.
So Samuel, do you agree that the school is pressurizing this member to attend class or to fail?
Takže Sam súhlasí, že tá škola vytvára tlak na tohto člena, aby išiel do tej školy, aby na tú skúšku alebo zlyhal.
Samuel said yes, he sees it that way.
A Sam hovorí, že on to vidí týmto
So Samuel,
spôsobom.
explain why you think it's okay to succumb to secular pressure.
Takže Sam vysvetlí, že prečo je v poriadku vlastne podstúpiť ten sekulárny tlak.
Go ahead. Okay, so Samuel hasn't been in that situation
Takže Sam nebol v takej situácii
and he acknowledges it's not that easy.
a on si uvedomuje, že to nie je také ľahké.
Samuel, do you just feel sorry for this person, or why did you say, yeah, it's okay to go to class?
Bolo ti ľúto toho človeka, alebo prečo si povedal, že je v poriadku, aby išiel na tú školu, na tú skúšku?
Okay, so Samuel has studied on the Sabbath once.
Takže Samuel zostal na sobote.
So I got the impression he felt a little bit of empathy with this student.
A cítil nejakú empatiu s týmto študentom.
Anyone else?
Ešte niekto?
So Sue Ellen says, why does it have to be
Sue Ellen
so
hovorí, že
adversarial? Why does it have to be a fight, them and us?
prečo to musí byť ten taký boj medzi nimi a nami?
Go ahead now.
Well, I mean, we study ourselves, we study things during our Sabbath time.
Okay, so she says we do studies on Sabbath. Is
John
that,
Howard,
is that very different to going to a class and studying biology on the Sabbath or maths or something? It
John
doesn't,
Howard,
doesn't seem much different.
My študujeme v sobotu a je nejaký problém ísť do školy a študovať nejakú biológiu alebo matematiku? Aký je v tom rozdiel?
Okay, so if there are no more points, I want to move on to a related subject, but it's another question.
Ak nemáte nejaké ešte k tomu body, tak ja by som chcel ísť k ďalšej téme, ale je to spojené s tou otázkou.
Okay, so let's move on slightly.
Takže posuňme sa trošku.
I want to begin by saying this.
A chcem začať s tým, že poviem toto.
It's taken a long time.
Trvá to dlho.
And what I mean by that,
A čo tým myslím?
I think, me personally,
Ja si myslím osobne,
I'm not the
a
movement,
nie som hnutie,
just one of the members
ale iba jeden z členov.
going along their way, thinking.
Teraz mi to seklo, nerozumel.
I'm just a regular member, just observing and thinking of what's going on.
A ja som len regulárny člen, ktorý rozmýšľa a sleduje, čo sa deje.
So I don't know how many of you watched the UK camp meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Takže neviem, koľko z vás sledovali anglický camp meeting pred pár týždňami.
This point wasn't touched specifically, but elements of it were brought up.
Takže tohoto bodu sme sa konkrétne nedotkli, ale priviedli sme tam nejaké elementy.
So I started off by saying something like, why has it taken so long? Is that what I said?
Povedal som to nejak tak, že prečo to trvá tak dlho?
I saw this issue a long while ago.
Pretože ja som videl tento problém už dávno.
And I haven't seen or heard anybody bring it up.
A ja som vlastne nevidel alebo nepočul nikoho, kto by to priniesol.
So the group here is going to help me.
Takže tá skupina mi teraz pomôže.
I want to apologize for the lighting on our board. I know it's not good.
Chcem sa ospravedlniť za tie svetlá na tabuli, viem, že to nie je dobré.
1850
1850
to 1863.
do 1863.
There's that time period.
Je tam ten časové
And
obdobie
we're in the book Early Writings.
a sme v knihe Ranné spisy.
So Ellen White is now going to be commenting.
Takže Ellen Whiteová bude teraz komentovať
The book is going to be produced.
a tá kniha bude vytvorená
And I've given you a time frame.
a dal som vám dávam vám ten časový
We could
rámec.
go earlier than that. We could go
Môžeme ísť
from
ešte
44 to
predtým,
63
môžeme
if you
ísť
wanted.
od roku 1844 do 1863, ak chcete.
So tell me what the subject
Takže
is.
povedzte mi, aká je téma.
I've given you enough clues.
Dal som vám dostatok kľúčov.
We put our hands up. Slavery,
Otroctvo,
slavery,
otroctvo,
slavery.
otroctvo.
So we've got a testimony of 3 that says
Takže máme svedectvo troch,
the
ktorý
subject
hovorí,
is slavery.
že tá téma je otroctvo.
And this is from the book Early
A toto je
Writings.
z knihy Ranné spisy.
It's actually from another book,
A je to
Early
v
Writings is a
skutočnosti z
compilation.
inej knihy, pretože Ranné spisy je kompilát.
And what's the title of this
A
chapter?
aký je titul tejto kapitoly?
If we put our hands up.
Sins of Babylon.
The Sins of Babylon, Gloria says.
A Gloria hovorí, že je to hriech Babylonu. Ten názov tej
So
kapitoly.
when it gets to this stage, I get in trouble often
Takže keď sa dostaneme k tejto fáze, dostaneme sa do problémov,
because I'm just a scribe
pretože len som popísal
and people think I'm the leader.
a ľudia si myslia, že som líder.
So this is Gloria, not me, who's writing this.
Takže toto je Gloria a nie ja, ktorá toto píše.
So if it's wrong,
Takže ak je to,
don't
Yes.
blame me,
ak je to nesprávne, tak neobviňujte mňa.
because I got chastised last time I did this.
Pretože ja som bol častovaný naposledy, keď som toto spravil.
George, have you confirmed this? Okay. I'm pretty sure she's correct and we're going to confirm it.
A ja som dosť si istý, že má pravdu a potvrdíme to.
Okay, so did I mention the elder test before?
Spomenul som staršiu test predtým?
No?
Nie?
Okay, so we'll put elder test
Tak dáme staršia test.
and I said 18, I'll do 44 to 63.
Povedal som 1844 až 1863.
Can we have a date here?
Môžeme dať dátum tu.
When is this subject being addressed
Kedy bola táto
in our
téma
movement?
adresovaná v našom hnutí?
Put your hand up. So well, 2018 I've been told.
2018 mi bolo povedané.
Anybody want to agree, disagree?
Súhlasíte alebo nesúhlasíte?
Agree?
Súhlasíte? Alebo súhlas?
19 to second Advent.
Oh, when did elder test bring this subject up?
A kedy staršia test prináša túto tému?
I'm not looking for a prophetic fulfillment. or application, sorry.
Nemyslím teraz aplikáciu alebo prorocké naplnenie.
Okay, so we're going to go for 2018.
Takže
I don't have any
pôjdeme
other.
s tým rokom 2018.
So I got 2018 here.
Takže tu máme
And
ten 2018.
I also have another
A
date,
tiež mám ďalší dátum
2019,
2019.
August.
August.
I have a secret helper in my ears.
Mám tajných
Okay, so
pomocníkov.
are you happy to go with
Sluchátka?
19, Sue Ellen, or you? Yep. Okay, so
Takže-
we're going to go for 19.
Takže ste spokojní s týmto augustom 2019? Dobre, tak
I'll rub it off
pôjdeme s
if
tým
I get into trouble.
2019.
Okay,
Takže toto
So,
vymažem.
in 2019, Elder Test does a study.
Takže v 2019 staršia
in
test
this
robí
history-
štúdiu, ktorá hovorí, že v tejto histórii
Samuel, why did I say 1850?
Samuel, prečo som povedal 1850?
The start of the Civil War? Is that what you said?
Začiatok občianskej
No,
vojny?
it's okay. It's all right. Is that what you said? The start of the Civil War? Okay. So I mentioned 1850,
Takže spomenul som 1850
and my question was, why did I give that date?
a moja otázka bola, prečo som dal ten dátum?
And it's certainly related to the Civil War.
A je to spojené s občianskou vojnou.
And the Civil War. So the Civil War is in 61.
Takže občianská vojna je v 61.
Do you have any more thoughts, Samuel, of why I said 50?
Máš ešte nejaké myšlienky, Samuel, že prečo som povedal 50?
Go ahead. The Great Compromise.
Veľký kompromis.
So there's something happening in the United States.
Takže začína sa to diať v Spojených štátoch.
Okay. Anyone else about 1850?
Ešte niekto ohľadne 1850?
So the Fugitive Slave Act,
Fugitive Slave Act,
okay, so I've got Sunday law.
takže mám nedeľný zákon.
Okay, so we've got some laws that are being passed in the United States, so they're laws.
Takže máme nejaké
And
zákony, ktoré prešli v Spojených štátoch, boli zákony
Elder Tess
a staršia Tess
is going to look at 1850 and make that the Sunday law.
sa pozrie na 1850 a urobí z neho nedeľný zákon.
So we have 1850
Takže máme 1850
and the Sunday law,
a nedeľný zákon,
which fits into this history.
ktorí pasujú do tejto histórie.
And we've got
Pasuje.
61 to, I said 63, but we'll go to 65.
A máme 61 a 60, povedal som 63, ale napíšeme tu 65.
Is that better, 65, yeah?
Je to lepšie, 65?
Okay,
Dobre.
so we've got some dates now.
Takže máme tu nejaké dátumy teraz.
And the question originally was about Sabbath keeping,
A pôvodná
the
otázka
rules and
bola
regulations on Sabbath keeping.
o dodržiavaní soboty a o tých pravidlách a reguláciách dodržiavania soboty.
So let's hold that concept in our mind.
Takže máme tento koncept na mysli.
And then we discussed that there is no Sunday law,
A potom sme hovorili o tom, že nie je nedeľný zákon,
you know, the papal Sunday law that we used to believe in.
pápežský nedeľný zákon, ktorému sme zvykli veriť.
And maybe because of that, our views on the Sabbath, on Sabbath keeping, has changed.
A možno kvôli tomu náš názor a náš pohľad na zachovávanie soboty sa zmenil.
Maybe the way we view Sabbath, the way we approach it, should change.
Možno ten spôsob, akým vidíme sobotu a ako k tomu pristupujeme, by sa mal zmeniť.
Maybe we shouldn't be so adversarial.
Možno by sme nemali byť takí protivní.
So we had some discussion, we have some views on the sanctity of the Sabbath.
Takže máme nejakú diskusiu alebo nejaké pohľady na svätosť soboty.
Where is the Sabbath found in the scriptures?
Kde v písmach je nájdená sobota?
Chapter and verse.
Kapitola a verš.
Book of Exodus,
Exodus,
Book of Exodus,
kniha Exodus, 2. Mojžišova,
chapter 20,
kapitola 20,
verse 4,
verš 4,
we're in the verses, 8 to 11,
8 až 11,
Exodus 28 through 11.
verses 8 to 11.
verše 8 až 11.
Is that correct, George? Okay, and we're going to get our verses correct as well. I will put it here.
Napíšem to sem.
Exodus 20,
Exodus 20,
8 to 11.
8 až 11.
Okay, so we're all good on that.
Takže všetci súhlasíme s týmto.
And everybody knows, either we can read it or from memory, what those words say.
A každý vie, už, či už z pamäti, alebo si to prečítame, že čo tie slova hovoria.
If we did a thus saith the Lord,
Ak my spravíme, to takto hovorí Pán,
how would we respond to the questioner?
ako by sme odpovedali tomu pýtajúcemu sa?
When the school,
Keď tá škola,
which is either a private business or part of the state,
či už je to súkromný biznis, alebo je to súčasť štátu,
says we will tell you how to keep Sabbath.
povie, my si povieme, ako zachovávať sobotu.
So we know what the words say.
Takže my vieme, čo hovorí tie slova, hovorí to slovo.
So I think we would all be forced to agree, or happy to agree, that that would be Sabbath breaking according to the rules.
Takže my si myslím, že by sme s tým súhlasili, že to by bolo porušovanie soboty podľa týchto pravidiel.
So the people who said it's okay for him, for the person to go to classes on the Sabbath,
Takže ľudia, ktorí povedali, že je v poriadku, aby išiel na tú skúšku do školy,
they know what it says,
tak oni vedia, čo to hovorí,
but they're viewing this dynamic differently.
ale oni ukazujú túto dynamiku inak.
So I hope we're all together.
Takže dúfam, že všetci sme tiaľ spolu.
Then 4 years ago,
A pred 4 rokmi
a study was brought to the movement
štúdia bola prinesená do hnutia,
which spoke about the issue of slavery
ktorá hovorila o problémoch otroctva.
in the book Early Writings, chapter The Sins of Babylon.
Nie ranné spisy, kapitola Hriechy Babylona.
It's in the history from 44 to the Civil War,
História od roku 1844 do občianskej vojny.
and the movement believes that 1850 was the Sunday law of that history.
A hnutie verí, že 1850 bol nedeľný zákon tej histórie.
So all of those studies have been done. We've all watched them. We may have forgotten, but,
Takže
but
všetky tie
it's
štúdie,
pretty
ktoré boli spravené, možno sme
common
ich
knowledge,
videli.
I would say.
A myslím, že je to taký také vzájomné, také poznanie, dobre známe poznanie.
Does anybody have any questions
Má niekto nejaké otázky
of what we've laid out so far?
toho, čo sme doteraz povedali?
So no one here had any questions.
Takže nikto tu nemá žiadne otázky.
You know, like in the Ten Commandments.
All I want is just clarification on anything that I've brought so far.
To, čo som chcel, je len vysvetlenie toho, čo sme doteraz povedali, alebo objasnenie.
So Sue Ellen has said she's not interested in the words, she's interested in the principle.
Sue Ellen hovorí, že ona ju nezaujímajú tie slova, ju zaujíma ten princíp.
And the problem with that
A problém s tým
is that we wouldn't know what the principle is without knowing what the words say.
je, že my by sme nevedeli, aký je princíp, bez toho, aby sme rozumeli, čo hovorí to slovo.
You agree with that, Sue Ellen?
Súhlasíš s tým? Áno,
She agrees.
súhlasí.
So without the words, we don't know the principle.
Takže bez tých slov my nepoznáme ten princíp.
I'm going to not address her question any further.
Ja nebudem adresovať tú otázku hlbšie.
I just want to set things up before we close the meeting and pick it up again in our next study.
Ale chcel by som to nejako zhrnúť, alebo zhrnúť predtým, ako ukončíme a stretneme sa na ďalšom štúdiu.
So, a few weeks ago, a study was done.
Pred pár týždňami bola urobená štúdia.
It wasn't a brand new study. It wasn't a brand new thought.
A nebola to úplne nová štúdia, alebo úplne nová myšlienka.
It was a reminder
Bolo to také pripomenutie
of what we all knew or what we should know.
toho, čo sme všetci vedeli, alebo toho, čo by sme mali vedieť.
So there are two histories in the Millerite dispensation
Takže boli dve histórie v milerických dejinách,
or early Adventism.
alebo v ránom adventizme.
We've picked up one, the 1850s,
A vybrali sme jednu históriu, to bolo 1850. roky.
and there's a second one which
A je druhá,
follows on, which is later.
ktorá nasleduje, a to je neskôr.
What history is that?
Aká je to história?
Okay, so no one knows what I'm referring to.
Takže nikto nevie, o čom hovorím.
Anybody? I've been told 1888.
Takže 1888.
Two people have said 1888.
Dva ľudia povedali 1888.
And what they picked up on was the clue of the Sunday law.
A to, od čoho sa odrazili, bol ten kľúč nedeľného zákona.
So we've got 1850
Takže máme 1850,
Sunday law
nedeľný zákon,
and
a
1888
1888,
Sunday law.
nedeľný zákon.
So these are two different models of
Takže
the
toto
Sunday
sú
law
dva
issue.
rôzne modely problému alebo tej témy nedeľného zákona.
And as Adventists,
A ako adventisti,
for whatever reason,
z akéhokoľvek dôvodu,
which is the one that we focus on?
ktorý je ten, na ktorý sa sústreďujeme?
If you to ask an Adventist, the Sunday law issue, is it 50 or
Ak by ste
88?
sa spýtali adventistu, aký je tá téma nedeľného zákona, je to 1850 alebo 1888?
88. So most people here say
88.
88.
Takže väčšina ľudí tu povedala 88.
So in the 1888 history,
Takže v histórii 1888
you're familiar with the work of Jones and the Blair Bill.
je vám známa práca Jonesa.
What was the issue?
A aký bol ten problém, alebo aká bola tá téma?
The test, if we could say.
Alebo ak chcete, tak skúška.
Anybody? George?
Law was to enforce Sunday sacredness like a Sabbath. And the issue is that the government was favoring a religious moral observance.
Okay, so George has said the issue that's confronting the United States in this history
Takže George hovorí, že tá téma, ktorá konfrontovala Spojené štáty v týchto dejinách,
and it's been building up for several decades,
a budovalo sa to niekoľko dekád,
is the subject of Sunday
je
sacredness.
to téma nedeľnej posvetnosti.
This is not, is this a papal push or a Protestant push?
Je toto
Who's pushing this Sunday
protestantský
issue?
tlak alebo pápežský tlak? Kto pretláča tento nedeľný problém alebo nedeľnú tému?
Someone said something? So the group here said this is a Protestant issue.
Takže skupina povedala, že toto je protestantský
So we get
problém.
this idea about the image of the beast,
Takže máme tu
copying the beast.
myšlienku
All of that modeling is about Protestantism.
obrazu šelmy, ktorá napodobňuje, a je to všetko tá téma o protestantizme. Ten obraz o protestantizme.
And we, through Ellen White, call it apostate
A
Protestantism
my
because
skrze
they're in
Ellen Whiteovú
apostasy.
to nazývame odpadlý protestantizmus, pretože oni sú v odpadnutí.
So coming back to this history,
Takže keď sa vrátime do týchto dejín,
we've got 61 to 65.
máme 61 a 65,
The Civil War.
občianská vojna.
Someone, I think it was Gloria, said she began to make an application here.
Myslím, že to bola Gloria, ktorá začala robiť tú aplikáciu tu,
Because I didn't frame my question properly.
pretože som nezarámoval tú moju otázku
But
presne.
let's do what she thought I was doing.
A poďme spraviť to, čo ona si myslela, že ja robím.
What is this?
Čo je toto?
61 to 65 in application.
61 a 65
What is that?
v aplikácii. Čo je to?
50 is the Sunday law.
50 je nedeľný zákon
And I've deliberately not drawn a line.
a ja som zámerne
Make it a little bit harder.
nenakreslil líniu, aby to bolo trochu ťažšie.
What would this be?
Čo by bolo toto?
Claudia,
Claudio,
time of trouble.
čas súženia,
61 is the close of probation.
61 je záver milosti,
So we've got time of trouble and close of probation.
takže máme čas konca, teda čas súženia a záver milosti.
And we've got a second witness to the time of trouble.
A máme druhého svedka na čas
Any
súženia.
other
Ešte
comments?
nejaké komenty?
So earlier,
Takže najskôr, alebo predtým,
Gloria had said
Gloria povedala
2019, I think she said to the second advent.
19, myslím, že povedala, je druhý príchod, alebo
Which fits into this story.
čo zapadá do tohto príbehu.
Sue Ellen said this was the close of probation.
Sulan hovorí, že toto bol záver milosti.
Sue Ellen said that. Sue Ellen said This 61 was the close of
Súle
probation.
len hovorí, že tento 61. bol záver milosti,
The time of trouble,
čas súženia,
ending with, as Gloria said, the second advent.
a to končí, tak ako povedala Gloria, druhým príchodom.
Okay, so if we're okay with that,
Takže ak s tým súhlasíme,
that's the time of trouble.
toto je čas súženia.
The Sunday law in 50.
Takže nedeľný zákon v tých 1850 rokoch. 50. roku.
So this section here is about the test.
Toto tu je o skúške.
So what's the test here in 50?
Takže aká je tá skúška tu v 1850?
We've worked out the Adventism.
Toto sme pochopili, že s adventizmom. A čo je toto?
So, slavery.
Otroctvo.
So Suellen says the issue here is slavery.
Takže Suellen hovorí, že tento problém tu je otroctvo.
Anyone else?
Ešte niekto?
David?
David.
Human rights.
So David says this is about human rights.
David hovorí, že toto je o ľudských právach.
The government's
So I've got the Declaration of Human Rights or Civil Rights.
Takže ja tu napíšem deklarácia ľudských práv alebo občianskych práv.
Are you gonna follow the government against what God would want?
Okay, so either we're going to follow the state or we're going to follow what God wants.
Takže buď budeme nasledovať štát alebo to, čo chce Boh.
So David, what does God want in this history?
Takže David, čo chce Boh v týchto dejinách?
So David says God wants people to be free, not slaves.
A David hovorí, že Boh chce, aby ľudia boli slobodní a nie otroci.
But if you ask God,
Ale ak sa spýtaš Boha,
like we could ask God here,
môžeme sa spýtať Boha tu,
Glory, what would God say?
Gloria, čo by Boh povedal
This issue here. Ask God, what would God say?
v tomto probléme? Čo by Boh povedal?
So Glory says, if you ask God, is slavery okay? God would say, sure, it's good. Or
si
at
sa
least
pýtala,
okay, if not good.
Boha otroctvo v poriadku, mi povedal, áno, je v poriadku, ak nie,
It's
dobre.
necessary
Je to nevyhnutné,
to teach people a lesson,
aby
your
to
enemies,
naučilo ľudí tú lekciu alebo nepriateľov tú lekciu
and for your economic benefit.
a pre váš ekonomický benefit.
So we might struggle to ask what God thinks here.
Takže my môžeme zápasiť s tým, čo si tu myslí Boh.
So none of that is new to us.
Takže nič z toho nie je pre nás nové.
So we've set up this scenario, everything's fine.
Takže my sme tu dali tento scenár, všetko je v poriadku.
And as I said a few weeks ago,
A ako som povedal pred pár týždňami,
there was a study that was done
bola štúdia, ktorá bola urobená,
that spoke about the subtle differences between these two
aby
histories.
sme hovorili o takých jemných rozdieloch medzi týmito dejinami.
And I hope I don't do a disservice to that study.
A dúfam, že neurobím nejakú zlú službu tej štúdii,
But there was a singular test here.
ale bol tu taký jedna
How many
skúška
tests
tu
are
bola.
here?
Koľko bolo skúšok tu?
Because if we look at this,
Pretože ak sa pozrieme
says
na
one.
toto, tak hovorí sa tam jedna.
Are we okay with that as it stands?
Sme tým v poriadku, tak ako to je tu?
Okay, so here in our group, we're not sure.
Takže tu v našej skupine nie sme si istí.
And we're going to take a break
A
now.
teraz si dáme prestávku
And I want to pick up this subject in
a
our next
chcel by
study.
som začať v našej ďalšej štúdii tejto téme.
So we've moved from a relatively simple and straightforward question
Takže išli sme,
about Sabbath keeping
sa posunuli z takej relatívne jednoduché a priamej otázky ohľadne dodržiavania soboty
to a study that Elder tested
k tej štúdii,
years
ktorú
ago.
robila staršia test pred 4 rokmi.
about how we view what's going to happen at the end of the world.
Ohľadne toho, ako my ukážeme, čo sa stane na konci sveta.
And we've got all the bits and pieces
A máme tu
set up.
všetky tie kúsky alebo všetky tie časti nastavené alebo napísané.
Let's pray.
Pomodlíme sa.
Dear Lord, we thank you
Drahý Pane, ďakujeme Ti,
that we can study together,
že môžeme spoločne študovať.
that we have the freedom to state our opinions,
A že máme slobodu vyjadriť naše názory
to make mistakes,
a urobiť chyby
and to be corrected by you.
a byť napravený Tebou.
As we meditate and study upon the subject of the Sabbath,
A keď študujeme a meditujeme nad tými témami ohľadne soboty,
it's my hope and my prayer
je moja túžba a moja modlitba,
that not only can we be in unity with one another,
že nie len aby sme boli v jednote
but that we come
jeden s
into
druhým,
unity with you.
ale aby sme boli v jednote s Tebou.
In Jesus' name, amen.
V Ježišovom mene. Amen.